Hello and welcome to another episode of Legion by the Numbers. I'm Joe Eames, and in this episode we're going to do something we haven't done before on the channel. We're not going to spend so much time looking at the statistics of any attack or of any of the dice, but instead we're going to take advantage of some of the previous videos we've had where we talked about the clones, the Phase 1 heavies, the Z6, the other heavies, and really specifically a previous video about how many aims does it take to make the Z6 better than the DC-15. And we're going to expand upon that. And so in this episode, what we're going to actually do is we're going to look at a build for clones that maximizes the ability to do aim token sharing. Now, I'm not a great player by any means. I play a bunch of casual games, mostly with one of my kids. One of my adult children. So I'm not by any means a meta expert. So these sorts of builds aren't necessarily going to be optimized to be tournament winning builds, but this, at least it's fun and an opportunity to look at a build that may be interesting to play in a game. So in order to optimize aim token sharing with the clones, there's a few principles to rely on. One is going to be reliable and doing as much reliable as possible. Two is going to be other ways to get aim tokens. And then three is relying on the token sharing that clones already have, which they can only share one token from another unit. So you have a Z6 unit that's going to fire. It can aim itself. It can grab a token from one other clone that has to be within range 1. Then there's two ways to get Exemplar from Anakin and Padme. So there's two more. And then we'll look at also R2 and C-3PO's ability to give out aim tokens. Technically, there's some more ways. Yoda could do some stuff, but at that point, it really gets unbearable or untenable with the number of points, and now you're focusing on one unit. It's probably not very playable to do it that way, although that would be interesting too. So let's start off our build here, very straightforward. Obviously, we're going to need Anakin, we're going to need Padme, and then we're going to do R2 as well, just because we can go with C-3PO, and C-3PO's calculate odds, hands out an aim token. The one other thing about that is that he hands out a dodge and a suppression. So you have to be careful because that one suppression can actually suppress the unit. So this isn't necessarily something you may always want to do. You could use this with Phase 2 clone troopers instead of Phase 1s, because one single suppression isn't going to suppress them. But the dodge and the suppression is going to make your Phase 1s more survivable. So it's pretty arguable whether or not this is actually a good idea, but R2 is such a great unit because he has the ability to give the winning tokens to actually get the secret mission. So he really adds another aspect to the game and some ability for you to make some wins. I'm going to include R2 and C-3PO here in this build, but that's 70 points. There's certainly a lot of other things you could do with those same 70 points. But let's go in through and just outfit these really quickly, and then we'll continue on. Anakin, we're going to give Saber Throw. I don't know why everybody loves throwing Saber Throw. That's the most popular one. I would normally give Push, but we'll go with Saber Throw. And then Force Reflexes, really good idea. Then finally Tenacity, and of course you have to staple Endurance onto Anakin because of his flaw card. Padme is going to get Vigilance for her command, and then situational awareness. I don't really love giving Padme a gear. I don't think Recon Intel really matters with her. Her blaster is okay. She's not really a big damage dealer, but she can kind of plink away at range 3 with that blaster. It's a cheap 5 points. We can always pull that off later on. All right, once we have those, then the next thing to do is just to get our core unit to our build here, the Phase 1 Clone Trooper with the Z6. So we're going to go with the Z6. Now, as I mentioned before, I love the Specialist. Oh, I didn't mention this in the discussion about aim tokens. The Specialist is the way to get them one more aim token because the Specialist has the free ability to get an aim token on their turn. So if they can aim and shoot, they can start out with 2 aims, pull one from another clone, that's 3. And then between reliable, we're getting a bunch. But we'll talk about why we're not probably going to be having a Z6 that's going to shoot with 6 or 7 aim tokens, even though that theoretically could be possible. But we are going to give them the specialist to give them that ability to get another one, and maybe they'll have an option to recover at some point, and then do that twice during the game. Finally, the key equipment here is targeting scopes. Now, even though the specialists give us another gear icon, we're not going to take advantage of that. There is some argument to instead do the captain, because then any suppression that they get can't suppress them. If that's a really key point, just interesting. We're not going to go with that in our build. We're just going to go with this sort of a build. So now at this point, we've got our 4 activations. How do we finish off the build? Well, just one Z6 unit is probably not enough. It could get targeted and get whittled down early on, and then it ends up not being as useful as you would hope with some aim tokens. So we're going to need at least probably 3. 3 is probably a good number of these. That brings us up to 620 out of our 800 points. We could just kind of finish this off. If we go to 5 of these units exactly made out like that, we've got a total of 8 activations and 797 points. The reason I don't think this is a good idea is that with 5 of these guys, the token sharing, they all kind of want the tokens. You got 2 people up there that are going to be able to do exemplar and get you a couple of aim tokens apiece there, but too many core units, and you kind of you don't really have much diversity in your force. So a couple of ways that we could move forward from here. One way would be for us to cut this down to 3 and then do something a little interesting, to bring in Rex. Now, Rex isn't very popular right now, apparently, in the meta, which, I don't know. I like Rex. I've always had mixed results when using him. Sometimes he was great, sometimes he wasn't. We're going to give him aggressive tactics. We're going to give him offensive push. We're going to give him recon intel so that you can really help move your units forward. And then I like giving Rex jetpacks just because Rex only has range 2. He's a great attacker. He's got surge to crit. He's got sharpshooter 1, and he has tactical 1. So he can really do, and then gunslinger, he can really lay it out. But with only range 2, it's really hard to get him in a position where you can actually take advantage of those things. So that's why I like giving him jetpacks. You can move him up on top of a piece of terrain that's in range of 1 or more units. Then you can make those attacks. You can get him out of trouble easier with the jetpacks. And also when he's up on top of some terrain, he likely is going to have some cover while being able to fire out at units. So I like giving Rex the jetpacks. The other nice thing about Rex is if you fire support into Rex, he's got sharpshooter 1 and surge to crit. That's an amazing spec or attack pool to add your fire support, like a Z6 fire support into. So that's a pretty interesting way to go. And then at that point, we're only at 743. So you could pad this in with 1 more naked phase 1 troopers in their job, but mostly would be to do objectives and to actually generate tokens for your Z6s. So that's one way to go. And in that case, let's just look really quickly at the command cards. Now, first off, you've got to get Anakin his exemplar, and that comes out of his 3-pip. So we have to start with that. Because we have R2, we may want to use his secret mission. We're going to add Blast Off for one of our 1-pips. So then the other thing about taking Rex is now you can take that Clankers, and then you could have that key moment where the Z6, maybe 1, maybe 2 of your Z6s could actually have range 4 and have the aim token sharing. So that's why Rex can be really powerful in a build like this. So we'll give him take that Clankers. That leaves a 1, a 2, and a 3 we still need to use. I really like aggressive negotiations by Padme. It does give you the option to get 1 more aim token out of that, or perform a speed 1 move while issuing an order, which can be really key to saving a unit or getting an objective. for our second. And then for the other 1 and the 3, I would probably go with Anakin's 1 pip just to keep Anakin as as powerful as possible, and maybe Padme's diplomatic cover, because that way you don't divulge that she can gain reliable 1 and share out the surge tokens to Z6s, which aren't as good as an aim token, but are still something. So that's probably the command card layout that I would go with in this layout. Now let's look at one more option. A lot of people are going to look at this and say that Rex is not a good unit to take in this sort of a build, and I think that that's a viable thought. So this is 8 activations, 795 points. Let's go ahead and do a slight variation on this. We're going to remove Rex, and then to add some variety, one thing that's missing is we don't have any impact in this list right now. So we're going to add the ATRT with the laser cannon, because that gives us impact 3 and a range 4 shot, so the ATRT can stay back. It's still kind of tanky because of its armor, even though it's only a white save. It's still kind of a tanky unit. It's fairly threatening, and it has that impact that could be really key if you go up against a lot of armor. The Z6 with aims can really get through armor. We kind of saw that in our last video. It's not going to be doing 3 and 4 points, but 1 and 2 points of damage with some aims is still pretty doable with the Z6, but the ATRT really, with that extra impact, really adds it. Of course, Anakin is our other impact as well, but getting him in to take out key armor units could be dangerous. It could force you to play him too early. So if we do line that out that way, we've got the ATRT. We have 3 of these. I'm going to go with 1 additional Phase 1 clone trooper, and that's going to bring us up to 2 of those, and that takes us to a total of 791 points and 9 activations. So 1 more activation than using Rex. Now we have 2 of these naked clone troopers that are generating tokens, and then if we go down to the command cards, we have to get rid of Take That Clankers because we no longer have Rex, and we can probably just put in Anakin's You Underestimate My Power. I really love R2's blast attack, but it's rarely useful. So Anakin's second token one is probably the right one to do. The other thing you could do is get rid of Anakin's 1 pip and do the synchronized offensive, because you have the vehicle now. So now you have a 1 pip that gives out two orders and still get your key Z6 in order and the ATRT in order and generate the tokens. Now, of course, for strategy-wise and playing either of these 2 lists, the key to all of this is you don't really have the aim tokens if the Z6s go early. So your key Z6 unit has to be within 1 movement range of being able to fire into something key, and they have to go 3rd or 4th so the other units can spend time generating those aim tokens. So Padme can do quick thinking and just take an aim. That gives her 2 aim tokens. Anakin can move and get and take an aim, so that's going to be 3 that you've got at an exemplar. But the other thing is you got to keep them within range 2 of the Z6 and within range 2 of where they're going to move to after they attack, so you have to keep that in mind. You can, with the naked clone troopers, take an aim and move to give them 1 more aim to pull from. So Padme's got 2, Anakin's got 1, the Phase 1s have gotten 1. But as we saw before, the Z6s really shine once they have at least 2 aims. But you may or may not want to be looking at doing 3 or 4 aims. So one good thing to really kind of consider here is how many aims is actually too many? At what point are you really kind of wasting aims on a Z6? So let's just look at that really quickly. With 5 black and 6 white, we're shooting into red with heavy cover as just an analysis, as a reference point here. They're starting off only doing 1 point, but once they get the 2 aim tokens, that's when they really shine. Oh, I forgot to add that precise one. Now they're doing 2.3 points of damage. That's really good. 3 points or 3 aim tokens gets us 2.7, so it's another 0.4 damage. Another one gets us 3.1. We're still adding basically 0.4 with each aim token that we add. 5 gets us to 3.4. Now we've only added 0.3. And 6. Oh, we can't even go to 6. Let's try it that way. 3.65. But we only added 2.5. So probably 4 is the max where they're really making a lot of, and it's really still pretty difficult to get them 4, but you don't want to do it with unless you've got them at least 2. So 2 or 3 is probably your sweet spot for aim tokens given to your Z6s. 4 is okay, but once you start hitting 5 and 6, you're kind of getting a little bit of diminishing returns. It's also really hard to line that up and actually get everything. By the time you're really trying to get them 5 or 6 aim tokens, you probably have focused too much on that one attack and not utilize the rest of your army effectively. So there you go. There's a build for utilizing aim token. Actually, a couple of builds for maximizing aim token sharing with Z6 heavies. Hope that you like this video. Hit like and subscribe, and leave a comment if there's anything that I missed, any mistakes that I made, or anything else that you'd like to see, or how would you do this build? How would you change and create a build for clones maximizing aim token sharing for your Z6s? Thanks again, and hope to see you in the next video.